Good morning, ninjas. Welcome to the business summit, the Small Business Growth Summit. My name is Owen. I've enjoyed getting to know a lot of you guys on Google Plus and on Facebook and on Twitter, and I want to thank you for engaging with me and engaging with the content that we're producing here at Video Spot. Today, I'm very excited about our guest. I met this gentleman recently at an event where. Welcome to the business summit, the Small Business Growth Summit. My name is Owen. I've enjoyed getting to know a lot of you guys on Google Plus. Are you hearing that feedback? Facebook and on Twitter. I want to thank you for engaging with me and engaging with the content that we're producing here at Video Spot. Today, I'm very excited about our guest. I met this gentleman recently at an event where. Welcome to the business summit. I don't know what's happening. My name is Owen.
That's pretty wild.
I enjoyed getting to know a lot of you guys on Google Plus. Are you hearing that feedback? Facebook and on Twitter. I want to thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Can I get you to turn down your speakers a little bit? Today I'm very excited.
Oh, is that the deal?
I think so. I think I'm getting feedback, and it's coming in like a minute after me. Can you still hear me or no? This is weird. It's like looping in the background. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, let's try this again. Can I get you to turn down your speakers a little bit?
Oh, is that the deal?
I think so. I think I'm getting feedback, and it's coming in like. What do you have open in your?
I just closed it. I had a.
You had the live version up.
I had something else open.
You had the YouTube version up.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh. No, it's not a problem. Although it's unlisted, only you, me, and Margaret can find it right now. But that was like a Twilight Zone for me.
Okay, because I opened the YouTube link earlier, and then I came back and hit. Okay, great. Okay, so let me make sure I have everything else closed. So the Google Plus.
If that's closed, we should be fine.
Okay. All right, let me make sure I don't have it open in Safari also.
Okay.
That's pretty crazy. Okay. Yeah, I hit on that video link has been open for quite a while. So anyhow.
But I only hit start broadcast, and that's when it started streaming.
But it doesn't. Okay, so yeah, it starts streaming, but it goes to a private. It's a private link.
Yeah, it's it's an unlisted room. Yep. But yeah, only you, me, and Margaret are able to see that right now.
Okay, well that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
I learned something new. Thanks for teaching me, pal.
I did too. So.
Okay.
All right, you all set?
Now, was my speaker too? My speaker was too.
No, I think we're fine. I think the only thing that threw me off was that. I thought it was feedback, but it was actually the YouTube link, so we should be fine.
Perfect. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So take two.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not going to hit stop. I'll pull it off, and I'm going to chop it right here. That's going to be. Okay. I can actually do that in YouTube. So.
Oh, okay. It is still live. I just saw that. Okay.
All right. You ready?
Ready. Let's roll.
Okay. Let me get my computer to stop. All right, in 5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Small Business Growth Summit, where I am super excited to be bringing you fresh content from business leaders, business thinkers, thought leaders, all designed to provide content and training to help you develop in different aspects of your business. If you are following this on Google Plus, and Twitter, maybe you just want to get the highlights on what people are tweeting, please follow the hashtag BizVideo on both platforms, really all platforms, as we'll be kind of going through the process there. But we're excited to have you here, and I want to thank you for joining us. And, of course, if you have questions, both me and my guests will be following the comments in Google+. So please leave your questions in the comment box below this video. Or any feedback that you might have. We hope it's mostly positive. But we want to be able to engage with you long after this event is gone, no longer live. So ask questions, provide feedback. Both me and my guests will respond to you. as we are able. And join us in the private Facebook and LinkedIn groups as well. We'd love to hear from you as there. So today my guest is just an incredibly talented individual, a gentleman with a ton of training, not just in his profession, but in other professions as well. It's important that we work with individuals who have a proven track record and are able to say, I was successful here before I became a speaker and author and some of these other things. That type of credibility, I think, is super important, and it's what I want to deliver here to you, the audience. I'm going to let this gentleman really introduce himself and his background, but I'm thrilled to have Rick VanDermyden on the show today. Rick, are you with me?
I'm with you, Owen. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. I feel like I wouldn't do your background any justice, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got here.
Fantastic, thanks. I'll keep this short just because it's good context, and then we can move on. But just a couple of very important decisions in my life, and the first was almost 23 years ago when I'd made the biggest sales job I ever made and convinced my wife to marry me, and we had a great marriage, and we have two fantastic teenage daughters, right now, and so that was one major decision. The next major decision really it took me into the mortgage industry. And I went in as a producer, and yet it was one of those key mentors in my life who gave me an opportunity to get into management and really helped develop me. And then in the early 2000s, I went into the real estate industry on the sales side and became involved with Keller Realty, and I went in as a producer there, and yet it gave me an opportunity to understand more about leadership. I became a leader in that organization and own a franchise currently, and then as part of that, they use a lot of John Maxwell's teaching, and I got the opportunity to become part of the John Maxwell Team, which has given me the opportunity to understand more about leadership development. So my first was a major decision with my wife. The next was a decision that got me into management, and then got into leadership, and now leadership development. And the leadership development piece has taken me to where now I'm a regional affiliate with the John Maxwell Company and actually do trainings and facilitations using John Maxwell's content. And just so you have a quick context for who John is, he's a prolific author. He's authored over 70 books, over 25 million copies sold. He's developed more content on leadership than any other author,
Right.
currently. And just it really some great foundational principles from him and his life and his experience. And I took those principles and used them in my businesses. And specifically in one of those businesses, we've doubled size and doubled profit in 2 years in a not terribly friendly market, frankly. So it's I teach from these principles work based on the results that we've received.
And just so that there's a little context on Keller Williams, Keller Williams is a real estate organization where you are an agent, but you have the opportunity to grow a brokerage, right? Your own internal. You're able to recruit other agents, bring them up, train them up, and then they can do the same thing. And is that more or less how that system works?
Yeah, absolutely. The franchise system the office is a franchise model, but within that model, we teach people how to build a business within the business, is what we say. So an agent can build a team and have a whole team representing them. And so the responsibility for the brokerage is still under the broker, but we're able to build our own small businesses within. It's a phenomenal model, and it's something I've really enjoyed both being involved in as an agent and in leadership, and it's just provided a great opportunity for me.
And the reason I bring that up is because Keller Williams, I was just looking at actually the real estate stats for San Diego County last week. Keller Williams is in the top 10, maybe the top 5, I'm not sure, in terms of volume. So it's a working model. But I also, wanted to stress the necessary business and leadership skills required for that model to be successful, and you have been.
Absolutely. I've used them in building my own team. I've used them in building multiple offices, and use them every day. I mean, what I'm doing here, I go and I taught this 2 days ago in a Keller Williams office, right? And
Great.
Had a lot of real value from what was what the content we were talking about.
And you're an excellent teacher. You and I met just recently at a local event out here in Carlsbad, California, and you spoke on leadership and the thoughts. It was a monthly event, So I and some of my colleagues, we attend this event every month, and there's always a different speaker. And without any, with all due respect to existing speakers in the past, we always gain content and value from these. But you presented something very different, and the internet was abuzz locally about the content you had provided. And I know for me, I stuck around. I was actually a sponsor for the event, and I stuck around and I asked you some advice on a leadership and a teamwork issue that I was having in my organization. I took your advice, which was, I took your advice, which resulted in some changing of positions and whatnot in the company. And since then, my productivity has skyrocketed. So you know what you're talking about, you're living it, you're teaching it. Let's talk today about leadership and teamwork. Let's start with right there. What is leadership?
Well, Owen, thank you for the compliments, and it was awesome getting to know you. I gained a lot out of our conversation as well, by the way. So I'm glad you got something. But trust me, I left energized. It was a great
awesome
connection with you. So let's just take a look at the first piece, and I'm going to teach a lot from John Maxwell's content here, and I know we have limited time today, but we could go for the next 3 hours, back and forth. So I'm just glad to be in the conversation, and I hope our listeners and viewers can enter into the conversation that we're having. So the first part I love to start out with is when we talk about what is leadership, because some people say, well, I don't have a position of leadership, so therefore I'm not a leader. And that's really a myth, because what we love to teach is leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's a key John Maxwell phrase. Leadership is influence. So I love thinking about, okay, if leadership is influence, who wants to have more influence on somebody else?
Right.
I want to have more influence in my marriage. I want to have more influence with my teenage daughters. I want to have more influence with the agents I'm leading. I want to have more influence with Owen. So I'm always looking to grow influence. And sometimes what can be misinterpreted there is people are saying, well, you're trying to get something from somebody else, and that's not actually the case.
Like manipulation?
Say that again?
Like manipulation?
Exactly. The other side of the coin is manipulation. Influence is if I can help you get more of what you want. If I can help you to get more of what you want for your reasons, I think that's influence. Because I can maybe see things a little bit different. You asked me a question after the thing, and I didn't tell you what to do or anything. I asked you some questions, and we kind of talked it through, and then you said, I think I have an aha around this. So that was about influence. Manipulation is when I can get you to do what I want you to do for my reasons. It's two sides of the same coin. It comes down to intent. Am I looking to better you, or am I looking to better me?
Right.
So leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, from what John tells us, and I want to make sure that we're clear that I want to help people get more of what they want.
Now, because I think that what we get into, and I got into this conversation with a gentleman who I love and respect, was that, well, Hitler was a leader. So I guess he was influential, and kind of the dichotomy between those two tactics. And that's what you're saying is that influence manipulation divide.
Totally. Now, he thought he was influencing for good, and some of us have a different opinion on that.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, it looked like it was manipulation because it was about what he wanted, not for the betterment of the people. So yeah.
So how do we use these leadership skills and influence to move our team forward? And is that really important? If I'm the boss, right, which I am,
yep,
can I just tell my people what to do?
You absolutely can, and that's a positional level of leadership. And if I just say, I'm going to take this to something really simple because most of us can relate to it. If it comes down to I'm the dad and that's why, that works when our kids are really young.
Right. When
they're maturing into adulthood, it doesn't work. So what relationship do I want to have with them? Do I always want to treat them as 2 years old? Or do I want to treat them as developing adults?
Right.
And a mature, a secure leader will treat people in a way that helps them to grow and become better and treat them as adults. An insecure or immature leader will treat people in a way that minimizes them. So we absolutely need to be looking at, okay, how can I add value? How can I grow my people? So I can't just tell them, and I'll never get as far as I need to go or as far as the organization can go if it's all about me directing.
So what are some of the ways that we can promote the value of, working as a team to our teammates, and does that extrapolate to our colleagues as well, and asking for referrals and creating referral partners and joint ventures and that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge opportunity because one is too small a number to achieve greatness. I mean, there's only so much I can do alone. And when I bring the team around me and I empower them to do what they're good at. I mean, if we transition just into a teamwork conversation, the teamwork is where can I get people around me that their skills are complementary to my skills. Where I'm weak, they're strong. Because if I'm an 8 in the area of my business, let's just call it sales. If I'm an 8 in sales, how good am I typically in operations? I'm probably pretty bad, frankly. I may be a 3 or 4 if I'm lucky. So I need somebody on my operations team who's an 8 in operations. So I've got to be able to pull that out of them. If I can pull the best out of my team, we perform at a much higher level overall. Think about this. How well does a basketball team perform if one team was all 6 foot tall shooting guards playing against a team of 2 forwards, a center, and 2 guards?
A diversified team, yeah.
Absolutely, we need that to come together. So that's where we need to bring the best out of our team. So it's absolutely critical that we not only look to add value to our team members, but we look to bring the best out of them. When they're performing in their gift zone, then we really start to see results. By the way, that's how we doubled size and doubled profit in that one business. We got people in the right spots on the team.
Yeah, and there was a book written called From Good to Great. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And he talks about having, we talk about having the right people on the bus, but in Good to Great, he talks about having the right people in the right places on the bus, right? You want a driver on your bus, but you want him in the driver's seat. Not serving drinks in the back. And we haven't talked about this, but I'm curious, does recruitment come up at all in this area and recruiting the right people, or is it the existing people that you already know? What are your thoughts on that?
If recruiting is, I think, one of the biggest areas of shortfall in corporate America. We will go in and we will hire people because we know, like, and trust them, and we have that kind of personal relationship, and then we'll ask our interview questions around things that kind of have to do with that, as opposed to, here's what I'm looking for in this role, and here's the behaviors. I've got to be really clear, and if you don't know what you're looking for, how do you know when you find it? Sometimes you walk around saying, well, I need a salesperson. Well, really, do I need a salesperson? Or do I need a salesperson who has these skills specifically for this role, for this industry? Because we see people that succeed really well in some industries, transition to another that don't. But if they'll bring what they did really well over here into this industry, then they can do well. So it's absolutely critical that we get people in the right seat on the bus. I love, the Good to Great's a great example, Owen, by the way. And get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus.
Right, great point.
In the right seats on the bus. And the opening line to that book is, good is the enemy of great. And on our teams, we accept good too often when we should be absolutely insisting on great.
That's a great point, and I want to take a second to ask the viewers to comment on that right now. Is your organization good? And is it challenging you from being great? So, I want to hear some comments from you. Go ahead and tag me and Rick in the comments so we can get involved with you. And maybe tag your teammates as well, or other leaders that we can kind of have that conversation. Because we're talking about a level of complacency, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see that happen in the trainings I go into. I've done it myself. You probably done it yourself,
right.
Where
Sure.
we accept it because, this is pretty good, and I like the person. And yet, is it helping the team perform at the highest level possible?
Right, and then you talk about, and this is what I recently went through, the pain and the work involved and the cost involved of letting someone go or getting someone off the bus. That costs money. There's a cost to hire. We lost some money on that person we had to let go because we'd invested in their training. We'd already paid out portions of commissions, and now all the work. 90% of the work still has to get done. How do you recommend we overcome those objections?
Well, let
those
me ask
challenges.
In that scenario, what has happened to sales since you made that adjustment? I believe that sales your productivity of your company has gone up.
Skyrocketed.
So it's offset the cost of removing. Now, let's camp here for a second, though. And this may be something that the viewers could comment on as well. What do you think the cost of a bad hire is?
Great question.
Right? I mean, Gallup gives us some different information as to what that cost is, but the cost of a bad hire is 10 to 20 times the annual salary of the person you hired, and especially if you leave them in the role too long. And so what we'll do is we hire too quickly and we fire too slowly. We should hire slowly and fire quickly. We've got a process we go to that's pretty intense to figure out, is this the right person for this seat on the bus? They're a great person. They're skilled. They're talented. They've got gifts and abilities. Are they right now in this seat for this organization?
Right.
And if not, let's move on. Now, once they get in that seat, we have a 90-day training program. Let's make sure that let's make sure we equip them to see if they can perform in our organization. So it's really important to make that move.
Now, what are some ways that we can engage with our team and our business partners and associates? Because some background on Video Spot, we hire all 1099. We hire contractors, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But we don't want anybody riding the clock.
Right.
And that will change. Eventually, we'll have a girl working the front desk and that sort of thing. But we don't want anybody riding the clock. We want people to be inspired and to go out and create and to do these things. What are some tactics that we can communicate the value of working for the team and as the team? Are we talking about one-on-ones, conference calls, group meetings? Are all those things effective? Are some more effective than others? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a great model called the 5 Levels of Leadership. John wrote the book about 3 years ago. It's a model he's used for 30 years. And it actually takes us through this model of leadership development. And it starts out as positional leadership. We get the position by the company, and we people work for us because they have to. We don't have much of a relationship there, but we quickly need to transition into a relationship. And what we know is that to go from level 1 to level 2 is we have to spend time with people to understand their values. We need to understand their motivations. We need to understand what drives them. In my opinion, in my experience, the only way we get that is one-on-one. The only way we get that, Owen, is even for 20 minutes after a presentation where you're the sponsor and I'm the speaker, and we hang out, and we started to understand each other's values pretty quickly.
Right.
So to go to that level and understand, I've done this exercise, literally dozens of times, where I get people to understand the team values, and they come together and they perform at a much higher level, understanding where all their teammates show up. And then I say, what are the company's values? Because as the team member comes into the company, I ask you to impact our customers through the company's values. So I don't need you to assume the company's values as yours, but when you impact the customer, you have to use the company's values. So we need to have that. We need to have that commonality. And that's level 2. Level 3, then we start going to, we say, how do we get to results? Because we've got to drive results. So these all matter. We just have to be intentional as to how we're going about them. And so it is one-on-one, absolutely. It's the communicating the vision continually. And then the third part is insisting on right behavior. That's what culture is about. Culture is all about insisting on the right behavior for this organization right now. Right. And that happens in one-on-ones as well as in group meetings. Conference calls, video chats, all those things play into making that a high-performing team.
Should a company's culture, and I asked you this before, and I want to repeat it here. Should the company culture be in a plaque on the wall? Is it lived out in alignment with like the mission statement and the vision? I mean, how does the company culture work? It's kind of an esoteric thing.
That's a great question, my friend. Here's a couple of things, right? The first one is, what I do speaks so loudly, you can't hear what I say. What I do speaks so loudly, you can't hear what I say. So you can put whatever you want on the wall. If it's not lived out in what I do, you know I'm a fraud. Or you know I'm not a match for the values of the organization. Yeah. So the mission, vision, the values, they can all be posted, and yet it's up to you as the CEO. It's up to me as the owner. It's up to me as the father and you as the father and husband, etc. It's up to us to live it out. And there's two thoughts on behavior or on culture I just love. One of them I've already shared. Culture is insisting on right behavior. The other one is culture is how we think, how we act, and how we treat each other. So can I put that on the wall? No, yeah, I can, but it comes down to how you and I engage after the presentation.
You're right, and I think it might be helpful for some of us out there to actually write on paper kind of those things. How do we want to treat each other? And how do you want to just kind of reinforce and to verbalize? I mean, these are the things that we don't really always take the time to verbalize and solidify. And I can see the value of having it posted on the wall, but it's like you say, if you don't live it out, but even writing it out and just creating so that you know the culture you're trying to create, and it reminds you, I have to live this out.
Absolutely. We have the belief system. I'll go to Keller Williams for a moment. We have the belief system of Keller Williams on the wall in our training room. Yeah. And then we always look at that. But the first person I need to look at is myself. If I'm going to go say, hey, you know what, Owen, I don't think you're living up to belief number 2, I first need to go and look at myself and say, wait, how am I doing? Because sometimes we use that as a weapon against somebody else as opposed to a mirror for ourselves. And I just ask everyone in my organizations, just look in the mirror. How are you doing? Let me give you a quick example of this. It just happened Wednesday evening, actually. I was flying on Southwest, and I don't know if you know this story, but Herb Kelleher, when he was running the organization, and when he would fly, he would get up and serve just like a flight attendant. He'd be giving out peanuts and giving out drinks, and he would be in a servant mentality when he's on the plane. I'm flying back from Vegas the other night, and there's a pilot who was what do they call that, deadheading, where he's just catching a ride from Vegas to here to go on his next leg.
Okay,
and
yeah.
This pilot was sitting back there, and he gets up and he comes and he's helping the flight attendant hand out peanuts and pretzels, right? And I said, you're really good, because what he was doing is he was living out the culture that Herb instilled in Southwest years ago. Right. That's behavior.
So having that type of stuff kind of clearly laid out, because I think we all talk about things like, oh, we want everyone to treat each other with respect. But guys like me, I'm a little sarcastic, you know what I mean? So I have to be really careful with my team. A buddy of mine yesterday said, Owen, people that don't know you prefer you in doses. And I appreciate that about him. But having those things, I think, really clearly laid out can be helpful in creating a company culture so that you are living, you're reminded, you know what, these are the principles that I agreed to live by. And integrity for us is a big part of that. Transparency is a big part of that. When something goes wrong, we want to let our clients know about it, whether it's our fault or not. That doesn't mean we're pointing fingers, but, hey, there was an issue. It happened on this end or it happened on that end, and that clarity, I think, breeds trust. But we have to remember to do that in a way that communicates compassion. Like, you didn't return my email, so now your account's 3 days past due. Right. That's not what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
So those are some great points. Here's the question. Let's go back a minute to talk. What are those 5 levels of leadership? Can you give us those, like in a summation?
Absolutely. First level of leadership is positional. It's given to you by the company, and people follow you because they have to. The second level
is like a manager.
It's like a manager, yeah. Yep. And everybody starts there.
Well, I'll come back to that. I want to ask if that's necessary in your organization. But let's go through the 5 first.
Yeah, absolutely. And level 2 is about permission. And this is where people follow you because they want to. You've shown a level of care and concern for them and who they are. They're following you because they like you and they really care about you. It becomes a two-way street. Level 3 is all about production. This is about getting results. And here, people follow you because of what you've done for the organization. Right? And you're helping them get things done. And then level 4 is about people development. Level 4, people development, this is where we're into reproduction, and we're helping people follow us because of what we've done for them personally.
Like duplication?
It's like duplication, and this is where we really start to multiply in our organizations. And I love thinking at this level is this is where we're helping people to do life well. Level 3, production, we're helping them to produce well in the organization. Level 4 is we're helping them to do life well. We're maybe in a mentoring relationship. We're helping them to look bigger than just the role they're playing in the company. Right. And then level 5 is pinnacle. Pinnacle is a respect level, and this is where you've done so much for so many, for so long, people follow you that may not even know you. This is a career level, so we don't focus a whole lot on level 5, okay? But we do focus, we're given level 1 by the company. And we always are at level 1 with people. There are times, Owen, where you're going to come back to your team, and it is going to be a I'm the dad and that's why conversation.
Right.
Make boom, move now. There's times it's urgency, there, customer, whatever it is. Now we as leaders need to circle back and explain at times, right, why that happened, right?
Yeah,
but we have new people come into our organization all the time, so we're always at level 1 with someone. And these aren't steps that we move up and we leave one. Level 1 is a foundation, and if you remove level 1 from the equation, it's like removing the foundation for a building. The rest
so you're adding to it.
Absolutely. Yep. And then level 2, of course, we get there through the values conversation we have. Level 3 is results, and level 4 is people development. What we do is we need to understand that level 1 is given to us by the organization. Levels 2, 3, and 4 are our choices all the time as to how we're going to develop our people. And if we're constantly in that people development mode, getting a relationship, getting results, helping them do life well, eventually somebody may give us level 5 leadership. We don't get to choose that for ourselves. Someday somebody may say, you know what, Owen was a level 5 leader for me and here's why. So that level 5 is kind of Gandhi-ish or
Sure.
Mandela-ish.
Yeah, sure.
But it can be you, and it can be me. We can make a difference at some point for people following us. So I want to give encouragement, but we focus on 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4.
And I think John Maxwell is probably at a 5. I know for me, I was raised in a home that we were not readers. I can't remember ever seeing my mom or dad read. And it just is what it is. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. I know my dad reads a lot more now, and he reads joke books and stuff like that. My dad loves to laugh, just like me. But the first book I ever read out of high school, in high school I got like 90% of the way done with 1984. I didn't touch any of the other books, wasn't interested. The first book I ever read in my adult life, cover to cover, was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And I read it in about 2 days. And to this day, that book has stuck with me. And I've throughout my life in peaks and valleys have followed John and like re-engaged with John and his content, as I did recently with you at the Chamber. So I think he's at that level 5, and I don't, even to bring it down from a Gandhi level, that it can be all of us, building our companies, if that I think is what you want to do. I think, like you said, we promote ourselves at 2, 3, and 4. My question is, how do we promote ourselves, and how do we move up that ladder?
Okay, great question, Owen. And John is level 5 for me, and he's level 5 for you. And for some of our viewers, this is the first time they've heard his name.
Great point.
He's not level 5 for them. So it's very much an individual choice.
Thank you for that. That's a great point.
Now, interestingly enough, John started at level 5 for me because I joined the team before I knew him, but he'd done so much for so many for so long, I joined. Now, I've gone back where I have a relationship with him at level 2. He's helping me get results at level 3, and he's helping develop me at level 4. So very interesting.
On an interpersonal, like one-to-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So here's how we move from level to level. From level 1 to level 2, we go through what we call the core values exercise. We get to know who each other are, and we get into relationship. And the best way to do that is if I can understand who you are at your core. Then you may become interested in who I am at my core, and we develop a relationship. So that's how we go from
asking
level
questions like, what do you value? What do you want to be in 5 years? That type of stuff.
Yeah, great question. We have actually an exercise we go through, and when we're doing the 5 levels of leadership, to understand each other's values. But and I can't really unpack a whole lot in the time we have. But
of course.
Just quickly, what we do is we have what we call a values-based conversation. And so what I do is I get to know who you are and kind of where you've come from, and then I start to listen for your motivations. So why did you start Video Spot? Where'd you come from? What got you to here? How much reading have you done? What are you reading currently? Right. So, and you and I connected on that stuff pretty quickly when in the time that we had together live, and
Sure.
then we start to listen for people's values. Now you cannot hang out with me for more than about 5 minutes where we're having a real conversation and not find out that my top value is growth. I'm driven to be the best husband I can be, the best father I can be, and then the best leader I can be. And so we'll be talking, and I'll hear that you have a daughter, and I'll recommend a book for you because I have a couple of books that are phenomenal for fathers and daughters. It just comes out. So you'll hear my value leak out of what I'm saying. So we ask about kind of where they're coming from, we ask about their motivations, and then we listen for their values, and that's how we can get to do that on a personal level. But here's the thing, we spend a lot of time in corporate America working on building rapport, which is, dogs, and now our conversation is about dogs, not values, right? Golf. But if we can say, hey, what got you here? Why did you choose this company? Well, I chose this company because of X. Now you start to hear what someone's values are. So we can have the values-based conversation and hear and understand them. To go from level 2 to level 3, there's a lot to it. I'm going to give you one simple exercise.
Okay.
Go from level 2 to level 3, to go from relationship to results. We have care and candor in our relationships. Care and candor. So we have a caring conversation and we have candor. Care means I tell you what I appreciate about you, what I like about you, what you do well. Candor is where I let you know what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it.
Ooh, that's the hard conversation.
Exactly. If we have care without candor, it leads to dysfunction.
Sure.
Think of any relationship you have. If it's all nice, and I don't say what you need to hear, it's dysfunctional. Now the opposite is true. If we have all candor without care, it leads to distance. Because if all you're telling me is where I'm falling short, I don't really want to come around next time.
It's criticize. All my boss does is chop me down. All my husband does is chop me down, and he doesn't care about me at all.
Absolutely.
So this is a balance. Now, years ago at a restaurant organization, we talked as I moved into a management or supervisory role, we talked about the Oreo Method, which is a very simplified thing, and I don't even know if I totally agree with it, where it's like, you couch the bad in between good. Hey, you do this really well. I need you to work on A, B, and C, but you're also really good at this other thing over here. And that's almost impersonal. I don't know. But you're talking some version of that, but maybe not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, not exactly the same thing. And we've kind of done that in corporate America, where we kind of have that sandwich, and it's been taught by a lot of people. And I'm not, right, wrong, good or bad. What I know is that when I have a great relationship and people know that I care about them, I can give them feedback. Right. If they don't know that I care, if they think I'm only doing it for my reasons and not theirs, they're not as open to feedback.
Right.
But when they know I care, now I can have candor with them, right? And here's the thing: a lot of times that sandwich that comes, it comes because we haven't addressed the issue in the moment.
Right.
If I just let you know, hey, here's the issue we have right now, and then we can move on, it tends to not build up and is not near as big a deal. Okay, but I've had several opportunities where, and actually, frankly, John was in the room for one of them, and I said, John, I don't need the care. You show you care about me enough. I want candor right now. I want to know exactly.
Hit me with it. Hit me.
Nailed it. Yeah. Now let me give you one more step, because we got from level 2 to level 3.
Right.
So we have care and candor, and now we start getting results, and we're really producing. To go from level 3 to level 4. This is where we start to help people do life well. And then what we do is I ask the question of you, Owen. Hey, tell me, in these 3 areas, what are you really good at? What do you do well professionally? What do you do well from a leadership perspective? And what life skills do you have that if you shared them with your people, they would have a better life?
Interesting.
Now we're getting to people development. So professional skills. Hey, here's how I hire people. Here's the process I take them through. I have a coaching client. I just shared this with the other day. I shared it with him about 2 weeks ago. And on our coaching call on Tuesday, he said, Rick, I can't believe how good a hire I'm about to make because you walked me through your process. Like, okay, that's fantastic. That was a professional skill. Now with that same person, we've had leadership conversations, and I also do a life skills deal with him. So how we go from level 2 to level 3, or I'm sorry, level 3 to level 4, is figure out what you're good at and start sharing it with your people. And Owen,
now, are you talking about like sewing or cooking or balancing a budget?
If that's what you're good at, and your people will help you get there. But think about it, it's the professional skills. What do you do that no one else can do in your organization?
And that's what I wanted to clarify when you said life skills. Are we talking about speaking? I would say for me it's time management. I'm great at time management. Maybe prioritization, not so much. But is that kind of what we're talking about here? Like, what are some examples of life skills?
Excellent. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, life skills I look at as the bigger things, not sewing or hooking. So thanks for clarifying. The piece there really is, for me, there's a couple things to do. I really work on relationships, and I work on here's how we ask questions to build great relationships. How do we build trust really well, not in a business setting, but in a personal setting.
Sure.
How not do you coach kids, but how do you coach kids really effectively? How do you connect with them on the soccer field or whatever the field of play happens to be? So that's kind of a life skill thing that I love. But there's we have those areas. I've got people that are really good in a fitness area, right? So I want to go to them. But I don't do a gym. I do mountain biking and I do hockey. So I want to know, hey, what do you know about mountain biking? How can I learn to be a better mountain biker?
Right.
The guy, the professional skills I just mentioned, he's a great mountain biker. So if I can follow him, he's teaching me what I consider important life skills, because mountain biking is important to me, right?
Yeah,
so that's a life skill.
Especially if we ever have like a Red Dawn scenario where they parachute in, you gotta get out of there. But no, it actually is a great skill because you're learning determination, you're learning how to like work through the pain. You're learning endurance. All those things translate into business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that I'm kind of joking, but that's it's like what do you have that I can gain from, right? We talked about video when you and I were together because you're obviously the master there, right? So that's kind of professional skills. But anyhow, so just think through what do you do well. Now here's the second part of that question, just real quickly. Go and ask your people what they think you do well that they would like you to have share with them.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm wincing with everybody out there who just heard that knows how serious that is. So I want to take a moment to punctuate this. Please answer in the comments below. Have you ever asked your team to evaluate your performance? Yes or no? How did you feel about it? What was the result? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Be sure to tag me or Rick in that. That is very challenging, Rick. Tell me more about that.
Well, here's the thing, Owen. Where we're good, the things that we're gifted at, sometimes we don't even realize how good we are, and we may not realize how challenging it is for others. Yeah. You and I are having this conversation via video. There's some people that wouldn't get on this. They'd be right, and you and I are it's perfectly comfortable.
Absolutely.
Right, so I'm not feeling stressed or anything else because this is an area that I'm comfortable. We're talking about a topic I love. I'm hanging out with a guy that I like. It's like, hey, this is fantastic. Not everyone would want to do that. So
right.
So in our area of giftedness, in our area of skills, we may not know how good we are. So I want you to ask your people, where am I good? And I've got teenage daughters. They're 16 and 18. Actually, my 16-year-old's birthday is today. And
right on. Congratulations. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you. But now I'm getting feedback from them that I haven't always gotten through their teenage years about, hey, Dad, here's what you've done well. Thank you for doing this for us.
When did you start asking them that question? I'm a stepdad, and my 7-year-old means the world to me. But step parenting is hard. It's a challenge, especially when he's gone 3 days a week at his other family. What age did you start asking your daughters that question?
Well, I don't know if I have. However, one of my good friends asked them that in a public setting. And my 18-year-old just spoke up and gave some incredible feedback. So I don't know that we can always ask as a parent and kind of start getting that back. What I do know is that when we pour into our kids and we give them unconditional love, not unconditional acceptance, they don't get to do whatever they want.
Right.
But we love them unconditionally regardless, it pays off huge. If that's
that's an important. I think that's an important distinction for parents as well, because I know a lot of us that are watching this are parents, and it's the same with your organization. Is that I think our culture teaches that love is never being critical and never saying you cannot do something or saying that you made a bad choice. So, and that's just a false version. If somebody is playing with a gun and looking at the barrel of a gun, if you love them, you are going to instruct them properly in that regard. And so I'm glad that you made that clarification, but it's really hard with our team members sometimes, with the people especially that are subordinates, that are underneath us in the organization. How do we ask them for that feedback? Is that a survey situation?
I've done it multiple ways, and one I actually took the book 21 Laws of Leadership. Yeah. The first law is the law of the lid, and at the end of that law, he says, here's questions you should ask the people that you're in business with, and it walks through. So I've taken those questions out of there and have put it in SurveyMonkey and sent that out to people that I wanted to get their opinion. Right. All the way up to a formal survey where they did a 360 all the way around me, and I got feedback that was invaluable. So I think it's all the time. But here's the question: do you want to become the best you can possibly be, and are you willing to have people speak into that? If you are, you're willing to ask the question. If you're not, you won't.
And I wanted to let that sink in for just a minute, because at Video Spot, for example, we want to work with that client that's looking to up level, right? We want to work with people that are looking to take it up a notch, and not everybody is, and that's okay. But we don't want to waste your time or our time. And it's the same with leadership, yes? Not everybody wants to be that level 4. It's too much responsibility. It's too much work. It's too much training. Look, I want to be a mid-level manager, retire happy, have a good team, and that's okay, I think. But asking yourself that question is what, and getting clarity is what a lot, I think, is what's missing from a lot of our business models. From a general standpoint, would you agree that that's something missing, or maybe it's just not even done poorly?
I think it's done poorly. I think that there's different stats, there's different polls that show that 95% of us are in the wrong role. We're playing in the wrong role. We haven't figured out what our giftedness is, and I'm hearing more and more of this. And so if I'm not clear what my giftedness is, and I'm not really sure, and I may not want feedback. I may know that I'm not performing very well here, and so feedback's not going to be very comfortable. But here's the thing: we're meant to grow to be the best we can become in this lifetime. I'm completely convinced that a tree never stops growing.
Yes.
Never. I
was just going to bring up that analogy. Yeah.
Right? Never does. And so are we supposed to? I don't think so. So people that say, I don't necessarily want to go to level 4, I'm not saying you have to be level 4 in the organization, but where can you be level 4? Because here's the reality: what you're good at, someone else needs to know. Yeah. And if you're not willing to have the question asked of, about what you're good at, man, I mean, you're leaving me short. Owen, if you're not willing to look at that and bring your best to me, you're actually taking from me. And I know you're a giver, so I can have that conversation with you. You want to give more, you got to be willing to go out there. And it does lead to some, we got to expose ourselves a little bit and be vulnerable.
I love that position of you're actually stealing from me or holding back from me. Because I use that analogy often. I haven't heard too many people with it. I was just on a similar note, I was at a Cal State San Marcos, which is my alma mater, and I was serving on a panel there on how to get a job out of college. And one of the students came up to me and said, I don't know what I want to do, but I liked your energy and I liked the way you kind of phrased things. And so I asked him that same question. Well, I said, you got to get really honest with yourself. If you don't know what you're going to do, why are you in college? Like, why do you have a major? What if what you want to do is biology? Why are you a comm major? So having that clarity, again, I think is helpful. But I asked him, what are you good at? And it was like, I don't know. And I don't think he wasn't good at anything. I think he'd never been asked that question or taken the time to really unpack it. And our culture kind of teaches, nobody's perfect and don't think too highly of yourself, but you have to have these honest conversations where you are your biggest cheerleader, you are your biggest fan, and you have to, in a quiet room, get down, what am I freaking awesome at? Where do I kick ass in my own life? It might be gaming. Well, gaming is huge. I mean, look at Twitch TV and all the stuff that they're doing for media. I mean, if you Google Halo tips, tricks, and stuff, the internet will explode with stuff. So there's a career there that could be made. And those conversations are really hard. I want to ask you this. It's kind of two questions, and we got a couple more minutes. What about, somebody's watching this like me, and I've been working with a guy in my organization for quite some time, and I realize I've made some of these leadership mistakes. Can I go back a level, and start again, or are his habits too ingrained to where I need to start phasing him out and just start fresh with somebody new?
Great question. And all relationships are two-way. So they need to be willing to accept my admission of hey, I kind of messed up here. We got to go back and make a new start. Here's what happens a lot of times, Owen, and I hope everyone that's having the conversation with us is tracking where we are. But we talked about levels 1 through 5, and if level 1 is foundation level, level 1 is foundation. Level 2 would kind of be like the first floor, etc. A lot of producers get given a position of leadership. They come in as level 1, and since they're great individual producers, they skip and they go right to level 3 because they're great at getting results.
Yeah.
So they produce really well, but they haven't built a relationship. They can always go back and build the relationship. Yes. So the answer to your question directly is yes, you can. You don't have to, but you'll never get to earn the right to develop your people at level 4 without having 1, 2, and 3 handled with any given individual. You're not on the same level with all your people in your organization at one time. It's right. Constantly moving. So you and I, we've got a great relationship. We're working on a relationship. We haven't gotten results together yet, right? So that's where we'd be working. And so we're always working. There's always this give and take. What happens is if I get to level 4 with you and I breach trust with you, all of a sudden I will fall back to whatever other level you see me as.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, we can move up and down, and we're frankly moving up and down all the time. I've done this with an organization where we coach monthly, and they're having the conversation. Hey, you know what? If this person, I slipped from 3 to 2. Oh hey, this person just still sees me as 1. So it's a great conversation.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. As leaders, we've got to be willing to be vulnerable. We've got to be willing to go back and tell our people. We've got to be willing to go back and tell our spouse. We got to be willing to go back and tell our kids, hey, I messed up.
Wow.
I shouldn't have done that. And here's the thing. As leaders, sometimes we think we need to have it all under control. We need to have it all handled, and we shouldn't be that vulnerable. Hey, the bottom line is we're going to tell them that we screwed up, not so they know, because they already know we did.
Right.
We're going to tell them we screwed up so that they know we know. So you can go back and say, I don't have the level of relationship that I want with you, Owen. How can we build that? I want to be intentional about building a better leadership relationship with you.
That's great advice. I'm going to do that right away. And the reason being, because I trust and I value and I like this person I'm referring to. And if he's watching, he knows I'm talking about him. We've already kind of had the conversation, but I want to see him develop into an expert. And I've dropped the ball on providing that training to get him to that next level. And that kind of breeds my next question is shadowing enough, right? I'm going to have you shadow me or does there need to be a well-crafted training system in your organization?
Yes.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
and shadowing includes that. There's a modeling model that actually we have in the 5 levels of leadership. But there's a modeling model. There's an equipping model, and it's really important we do that. And there's just the real quick model is first I do it, I become good at it, and then the next step is I do it, you're with me. The next step is you do it, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
The next step is you do it alone. And then the step after that a lot of times we miss from a development standpoint is you do it and you're now teaching somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's part. So we need to make sure our people are equipped, and that's the other mistake we make in corporate America is we don't necessarily equip people, train them in the right areas to help them be successful.
Right. Right. Well, that's really great. And here's what I want to close with this question for you about boundaries. About taking your team to the bar. And I'm not talking about getting drunk necessarily. I think let's just put that on the table. It's not a wise idea. But where do you become in a group setting, right? You just finished a big account and you take the team, out for pizza or steaks or whatever. And you order a drink specifically, and maybe the same thing extends to smoking cigars. Are you crossing boundaries by having a cocktail or a beer with the guys at work? Are you putting yourself back on their level to now you've lost your leverage and they see you now as one of them? So I can call in sick tomorrow. He's my buddy. We had beers together. Or, I can kind of slack off on this because, after all, boss is my buddy. We had beers together. What are your thoughts on that scenario?
Well, we have another video hangout scheduled to discuss that with my HR manager. Now, I mean, hey, Owen, and hey, we're in California, so you got to be even extra careful. But yeah, great question. And every culture, every organization needs to figure that out. But here's what I know: whatever the leader does, their next level followers will do to another level.
Right.
So we've got to be really careful about that, and so I'm frankly pretty aware of that, and with my leaders, we go to the annual event. It's like, hey, you can't be out there all night long. And matter of fact, midnight's probably good. I'm not going to give you a curfew. You're an adult. You need to figure that out. You just need to be aware that whatever you do gets expanded at the next level. Yeah. Right. So a drink for the leader may become a bottle for the team. Right. Which may become a huge tab for the extended team. So
for the organization,
be very careful, understanding that I think we can. By the way, just to answer your question, we can absolutely be very social with our team because that's part of the relationship building. I don't think that's a problem. I think that the environment can be fraught with risk, and so be careful with that. But I'll give you a quick example. We've been to dinner with John at his birthday, right? And John didn't drink one glass of wine. He had a couple of tastes, but he didn't have. And guess who the first one to leave the table was?
John,
right? Yeah. And he goes, hey, I'm going to go prepare for tomorrow. Well, guess what? We all looked around and said, we've got to go prepare for tomorrow, right? Yeah. So you as the leader set the tone, and be careful because people do what people see, and if you can do it, guess what? It gets expanded to the next level.
Yeah, and what I've learned is that it doesn't matter if you've only had one. The guy, the teammate doesn't know that. He doesn't know that you've been sipping on the remnants for 20 minutes. He knows that he had 3, so you must have had 3, so he should have one more.
Absolutely.
I know that for me, what I try to do is to turn even those social events into company training and morale, and when your team is in sync, and they're not always in sync, but when they're in sync and everyone's excited and you're around that table and you've got spaghetti kind of going on, it's like, hey guys, what are some amazing ideas that you have right now? and you just kind of get everybody kind of moving. I mean, even the social events can turn into some training events and some energy building events and things like this because you all love what you do, hopefully.
Yeah, and I know we need to wrap real shortly, Owen. But I'll keep this really short. But it absolutely can be, and so what we just need to be aware of is that's also the time to reinforce culture.
Good.
So do we reinforce the culture of results? Absolutely. Do we reinforce the culture of good behavior publicly? Absolutely. Because here's the reality, and I tell this to my daughters, I tell this to my team leaders. When you're out there, you're not representing you. You're representing me. You're representing our last name. You're representing our company name.
I love that.
Where people are watching.
I love that. That's fantastic. Now, we've covered a lot today. We've covered what leadership is. We've covered the 5 different levels of leadership. We've covered how to move up those levels, and we've covered even some kind of Q&A stuff. If you guys watching have any questions on the stuff that we've covered today, please comment in the section below. Be sure to tag me or Rick so that we can engage with you, and we'll do our best to respond to those as they come in. As we're wrapping up here, Rick, tell us how we can learn more from you. Do you have any content we can subscribe to? And do you work one-on-one? Do you come in and train organizations? Can we invite you to speak? What are some of the ways that we can learn more from you and stay in touch with you?
Thank you for that opportunity. I really appreciate that. A couple different things that we can do. To reach me directly, my email is rick@rickvdm. So R-I-C-K, Victor, David, Mary. rick@rickvdm.com is how you can reach me on via email. My website is rickvdm.com, and we can engage there. I've got some content and information there as far as blogs. I do coaching, I do speaking, training. There's a plethora of information available both on my website as well as the John Maxwell Company website, and that's leadership at its highest level. The content that the Maxwell Company brings. So we've got ways to engage. I would love to be able to do anything I can to serve you and add value to you. So if it's a question, if it's a scenario you're running up against, reach out. I'd love to do what I can to help and to serve. And here's just a closing thought, Owen. We've got a leadership crisis in America. This isn't a matter of are we leaders, because we're all influential some way. The question is, what's the level of influence we're going to have, and how big could it possibly be? We've got a leadership crisis. Our communities are crying out for leaders.
Yeah.
So don't take a leadership discussion as though it may not apply to me. It does, and we need you. We need you to step up and bring your best to the table.
I love it. I love it, and thank you for that. If you guys want to, I'm going to put up on the screen right now to subscribe to Rick's YouTube channel. I know that you're doing videos, and you put them in your email newsletters, and lots of great advice and tidbits there. I'm also going to put up my YouTube address. I want to encourage you guys to subscribe to my channel as well. I do advertise a lot of the summits. I do promote a lot of the summits and the interviews that I'm doing. Some of them I don't promote. If I just met somebody and I want to do an interview, I might just interview them and throw it on my YouTube. If you're subscribed, you will get that content. Everything that we do at VideoSpot is designed to help you communicate your message. We believe that everybody that has a business has a product that will bring value and improve someone's life. We believe that. We believe that's why you went into business. We just believe that you might need some coaching and instruction on how to get that message out. And so that's what we train on. That's what we try to teach. That's what we do for our clients. So if you're looking for that kind of content, subscribe to my channel and stay in touch with the things that we're doing today. I hope that you'll engage with us again as we go further into the Small Business Summit and talk to more business leaders and thought leaders in the industry. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Please leave a comment in the section below. I want to thank you, Rick, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Great hanging out with you, my friend. You finished my week.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you're going to get a ton of emails. I know people are going to email you and ask you stuff, so awesome. I encourage you guys to do it. Rick has got just a ton of stuff, and he's just as good one-on-one as he is in front of the group. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Owen.
Cut. All right, I'm going to do one more headline. I forgot to do it at the beginning. What is leadership, and how do you maximize your leadership to get optimal results from your team? We're going to talk about what is leadership, and how do you optimize your leadership to get the best results from your team? We're going to talk about that today with our guest, Rick VanDermyden. Got it. And then that'll go in front, bumper, and then
Perfect.